Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon if you're watching me from elsewhere. It's Gordon at Avolites. This web session that we have here is purely dedicated to you guys sharing tips and tricks with each other. It was done on the Facebook Programmers and Users Forum. If you guys are not registered on that Facebook Programmers and Users Forum, I highly recommend it. There's lots of people there sharing advice and helping each other. If you have any tips or tricks, then comment on this video. I want to hear what some of you guys like doing and what some of you guys get up to, as well as some of the tips and tricks that I use on a regular basis when I'm programming gigs. Programming gigs, often it can always get down to the wire, down to the last minute adjustments, but 9 times out of 10 I've got a little bit of time where I can program some stuff beforehand. Programming some stuff beforehand helps a lot because you can have a little think about your console layout, and you can have a think about anything that you might want to use to make your programming life a little bit quicker. Hello Sebastian, I can see that you've just joined. Anyone else who's watching at the moment, comment, say hello. I'm sure nobody who's watching this is going to bite or argue. One of the things that's come up recently on a couple of Facebook posts, and one of the things that I used to use a lot when I was programming various different theatre shows over the years, is the syntax method of operating. The syntax method of operating is quite popular. Hello all. Because it can mean that your fingers don't have to move that far away from the numeric keypad on the console. Even on that Titan 1 interface that you can see on my screen, you can see that I have a numeric keypad there. On the top left hand side of every palette that you have, every fixture that you have, you can see there is a user number. This user number you can use to type stuff in. This is my numeric keypad on this Titan 1 interface. On your consoles, they're generally on the bottom right hand side. My BMFL blades in this particular show file, you can see there is a user number of 19. If I say group 1 9 enter, that's going to select my group for me. I can then press locate and that's going to do it. Being able to adjust the select palettes and stuff like that as well, you could do with these user numbers. User numbers can then mean that I go, okay, I want palette, I've got a nice red on palette 10, palette 10, enter, all without my hand having to move away from here. Those of you who find that a slightly foreign concept or a slightly strange concept, don't worry too much about it, but it can really come in handy, especially if you're working in combination with a designer. Rather than saying make those lights blue and you having to scan around your groups and around your palettes to find out which particular lights they're talking about, you can have a little user reference. If I say I want my group 10 in palette 16, I can say group 10. I can even use this at number, this at key, to say at 100. And you can see just there the intensity has gone up to 100%. If I then say palette 78, that's going to point those lights into that position palette. Chris, you can select multiple palettes. Using this syntax method, you'd have to type them in one at a time, I believe. But I'll give it a go. If I say I want palette 55 and 13, yeah, you've got to select them one at a time, which is Not the worst thing in the world, especially if you're on a console, because all of those buttons are right up close to each other. This is often how other consoles in the industry have to work. Avolites, as you guys know, you don't have to work by this syntax method, but it can be really, really useful. Especially if I just want to go, okay, well I didn't mean palette 16, I meant palette 17. Palette 17, I like that colour, maybe I'm going to grab my group 19. Palette 17. If in doubt, always type in enter after each of your commands. Making a really long, elaborate command, certainly when it gets to me programming stuff at 4 in the morning, I tend to forget what I've typed in the first half of it and have to look back through the process and this, that and the other. Just quickly pressing enter after each of them makes it nice and easy. Anyone who's currently watching got any tips or tricks they want to share? Let me know, because that is one of the key ones that I wanted to share with you guys today. I can see we've got some more people joining in as well. That's good. I like to see that. Those of you who don't know, live palette fade times have been in the consoles for ages and ages and ages, but I seem to constantly be finding people both in the UK and on the road around the world that aren't entirely sure it exists. Say over 3 seconds I want all of these BMFLs to go red. I can press the number 3. I can then press that red palette. Now over 3 seconds those lights are going to go red. If you like that, tell me you like it. I'm looking at all the comments on this video right now, so I will be able to see, and you'll be able to share the Avo love. What else shall I show you? From version 11, global zoom palettes can be used really nicely and really effectively. Let me just find a spare space on my gobos and beams window. Rather than having a palette for all of my spiders in this particular show file, zoom in, go into the middle, zoom out. All of my BMFLs, zoom in, go into the middle, go out. What I can do is I can just make some global zoom palettes. You can see there I've got a zoom at 0%. I'm going to double click in there, and you can see on the top right hand side of the palette it is G for global. I can then say, okay, maybe this time I want to use that syntax method again. Typing in 50, my soft keys are going to go to the most useful thing available to me. You can see I've got a palette that has this number because on soft key B I've got apply palette iris small as one of the options. I don't want to do that. I want to put my zoom at 50%. That value's lit up blue, so it's definitely in the programmer. I can go over fixture exchange. That's absolutely fine. Ooh, Sebastian, good suggestion as well. I like that. We've got plenty to go through. Now, whatever fixtures I select, I can then choose whether I want the zoom at 0 or the zoom at 50%. So true, Sebastian, so true. One of the things that is in the show library of the console is a number of macros, which both Sebastian and myself absolutely love. I'm sure, Mike, you love them as well. Soft key F of open workspace window, I can then find my show library. In the show library, on the left hand side, there's a little tab called macros. These macros are already built in. Smiley face already. And can make things like live palette fade times a lot quicker and a lot easier, because you don't even have to worry about recording a macro yourself. You can just copy them from the show library. Here you can see I've got a palette fade time of 0 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. What these macros are going to do is they are going to change your global palette fade time. So the global setting on the console of how many seconds it takes for you to fade into and out of these palettes. We've put a large number in there as well, so you can have some fun with that. Just to the right hand side of that, you've got palette overlaps. Palette overlaps, what they do is they look at your fixture order in the group that you have chosen, and they will apply that palette in that particular order. If the palette overlap has been given a value of less than 100%, then what it's going to do is the first fixture in that particular group is going to go to 50% of that instruction. If you've used the palette overlap of 50%, it's then going to go on to the next line. All of these transitions are still going to be saved, still going to happen over the time that you specify. But if you ever want to use those, feel free to copy them just from your show library onto one of your workspace macro or executor buttons on your consoles and make your life nice and easy. You can definitely combine an overlap with a fade time trigger simultaneously. That's entirely a thing, yeah. Right, let's have a look at what's next out of the comments. Is there a selective function? Yes, there is a selective function. If I fire, say, this playback that I've got, just so that I know that I've got some lights on. Especially with big rigs, it can be difficult to chop and change and remember exactly what you have doing exactly what. On the consoles, you've got a button that says select if. If I can remember where it is on this Titan 1 interface, I will go through some of the options. There it is. As soon as I type select if you're on a console, just underneath your context menu, you'll get this syntax. On this Titan 1 interface, it's going to appear down the left hand side. It gives you a little clue about how you can use select if. If I say select if at and then type in a number and press enter to finish that command, it's going to select if any lights in my console are at that particular percentage. If I say select if at through and then specify a number, it's going to choose any lights that are in between a particular percentage and another one. So I could say select if at 50 through 100. As soon as I type enter, you can see just at the top of my screen there, it's selected if any lights are at 50 through to 100%. Select if and then at is going to select any fixtures with an intensity above 0%. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Yes, you can also use select if across palettes. If you're not sure what fixtures are a particular palette, I could say select if this one, and that is going to highlight any lights that are using that particular palette. The other thing I was teaching last week and seemed to be particularly popular is putting fixture overlaps into just normal playbacks to create a nice transition effect. This playback that I've got at the moment has just got these spots, dimmers, nothing else. It's just going to put them in that position. You can see as I bring that playback up and down, it's just fading them all in at once. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open /view and select that playback, and I'm going to put a fade in time, say 3 seconds, and I'm going to put a fixed overlap If I put a fixed overlap of 75%, that might look good. As soon as I'm done, I'm going to close that window. Now as soon as I bring it up, rather than all of those lights coming on at once, it's going to follow the fixed order that we have recorded into that playback, and it's going to fade those lights on. Still, the whole transition is going to happen over 3 seconds, but it's going to turn on the first light in that fixed order very quickly, and it's going to leave some space and then turn the next lights on, leave some space, turn the next lights on. Chris, yes you can. You can say select if at any particular palette. Anyone else got any tips or tricks that they want to share? Do write them down, do let me know. Matt Green, sorry I missed you, I've just scrolled down to see your comment. My only query is there a way of updating queues as queue only, protecting tracking in subsequent queues? That's a useful one, I like that idea. Let me make myself up a queue list quickly, and I will show you the way that I normally end up updating queues, and I'll show you some of the update options as well. I'm going to record, create queue list on this particular playback. Save. Lovely. There's a little queue list made for me. Say I want to update some positions just in Q1. Okie doke. I'm going to keep to the Avolites logic of grabbing some lights and telling them what to do. I've already got my BMFLs selected, so I'm going to point them all at the singer. Now I'm going to say record, and I'm going to tap this playback that I have a queue on. If I type the queue number of 1 in there, then the option is already going to change whether it is update from append. As soon as I press update, I can see that I have a number of options. I can either replace all the information in this queue currently, merge all the information in this queue, or if you have a look at this bottom soft key, you can see update mode of forwards. This is going to update this queue and all the ones after that. Update mode of backwards, it's going to update this particular queue. Haha, Graham Roberts, I like it. I might go through that if I've got some time. Update mode of both, it's going to apply these changes that I'm going to merge into my queue list in both directions. Or if I choose the update mode of queue only, then it's only going to update the information in this queue specifically. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me see if I've got some lights that I would look good with a pixel map effects on this Titan 1 interface, and I will go through applying colours to pixel map effects. Lovely, they'll do nicely. I'm just going to create myself a simple pixel map effect. I've already laid out the fixtures with this particular group, so I know that I'll be able to make a pixel map effect nice and quickly. That goes back to what I was saying about the syntax method of programming. I've got my fixtures with logical user numbers in this show, and I've got my fixtures layouts all sorted and tidy in this group, so that I know that when it gets to that point where it's 3 o'clock in the morning or whether it's just before the show, I can program nice and quickly. This pixel map effect displaying on my lights at the moment, I'm quite happy with that. I want to record it. Just going to load up the effects editor window once again because I have not saved it as a workspace. Just tap that black sun so that you can see it easier. Say I like this effect, but I want to change what colours they are after that. If I use this toggle switch of use master, what is going to happen is this particular layer is not going to save any color information. It's going to take its color information from a pixel map layer master. I can record this just as you'd expect, either by channel, by fixture, or by stage. I'm going to record this one by fixture. The next process in using a pixel map layer master is to tap record. Now on soft key E, I'm going to tap create master. Soft key E again is pixel mapper, and because I programmed that effect on layer 1, I'm going to choose layer 1. Now I've got my playback that's got that pixel map effect in there, and I've got my pixel map layer master. Just going to hold down the Avolites button and press exit. That's another tip and trick that could potentially be useful for you guys. If you find yourself regularly pressing exit 1,000 times, holding down the Avolites button and pressing exit will get you right back to your program menu on the console, so that your normal soft keys are displayed. Because I programmed this pixel map effect and I said use master, I've then put a master on my console. These pixel map layers masters are basically like as if that entire layer of the pixel mapper was a fixture. So at the moment you can see that that playback is down, so it's got no intensity, same as you'd expect any light with no intensity to not display anything. You can do exit, 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 clear, clear, exit if you want. Mike, I entirely believe you. Now when I bring that pixel map layer master up, you can see that pixel map effect is displayed. If I tap the blue swap key to select this pixel map layer master, you can see that none of my color palettes are grayed out. Treating it as if it was a fixture, I can apply any of these palettes. I can even use live palette fade times that I spoke about a little while ago to say, okay, in 3 seconds I want you to go to white. Now nice and smoothly it's going to go to white over 3 seconds. Being able to adjust your pixel map effects can also be really useful. Using a pixel map layer master, you can see there that I can adjust the X and Y position for it, so I can just tweak it over to one side or the other if I need to. The very entertaining and quite cool thing that I saw last week was somebody selected their pixel map layer master and they used the shape generator to create a color effect over the top of it, which then meant that they could have it set to their normal size or BPM master that they were using, but the pixel map effect then used the shape generator for some fun. You can see there it's working. I've got my pixel map effect still going, but I also have the shape generator displaying that color information for me. Who else has got a tip or a trick that they want to share with everybody? There's plenty of them about. Setting up your console, you can see that I might have gone a little bit over the top laying out this particular show file compared to what some people do, but it means that it's really quick and easy to manipulate around. All of my BMFLs are there. When I originally programmed this show, they were all in a very random order, because as soon as I knew I had a fixture to patch in, I was chucking them on the console. Latch menu. I'm not sure I went through this on the last webinar that I did about tips and tricks, but what that latch menu button is going to do is it's going to hold down any button that we might find ourselves pressing hundreds of times. So to lay out these groups, I could either press move, choose a group, and then choose where I wanted it to go to, and then select move again, choose a group, choose where I wanted it to go to. Or if I say move and then tap that latch menu button, you can see my copy, move, link menu is latched. This is a nice easy way so that I can go, okay, I want this one there, that one there, that one there. Makes my life a lot easier rather than pressing move in between every single step of moving all these groups around. As soon as you're done, tap that Latch menu button again, and as normal, press exit to go back in your menu one step. Latch menu can be really, really handy, especially with things like if you're deleting and cleaning up your show files. I can latch and delete a whole bunch of stuff at once. I was going to help you out, Graham, but it looks like Sebastian has already beaten me to it. This is why I like Avolites, just sharing stuff. Everybody making friends. Who else has got a tip or a trick that they want to share? Trying to think of some other ones that I use as well. I believe I went through it last time, but I'm going to go through custom fixture selection as well, just because it's a good habit to be in and to get used to. Say I've got all of my BMFLs selected, but I actually only want every other one. I can either go through the process of deselecting every other one of these BMFLs. That might take some time. Using this odd even button, I can tap odd even and have a look at my soft keys. There's a number of different selection options there. Soft key A is odd, soft key B is even. 1 in X means that I can specify some stuff. So if I want 1 in every 7 fixtures, I can do it. 1 in 3, that'll do me nicely. And you can see that 1 in every 3 fixtures is selected. The step above this, which I didn't realise seemed to be a secret up until I started working for Avo, was the fixture +1 and the fixture -1 buttons works even when you've selected all of your fixtures in this manner. So I've selected all of my BMFLs, I've then said 1 in every 3 lights. If I tap fixture +1 now, it's going to select the second one in every group of those 3 lights. Again, you get the idea. This saves me clearing, exiting, however much we all love to do it, selecting all of those BMFLs, pressing odd even again and going through all of those steps. Can be useful, especially there's been a couple of rigs that I've had recently that have had tons of LED fixtures. I had a group that had every single one of my LEDs, so that I could then grab them all, say 1 in 5 blue, 1 in 5 pink, +1 magenta, +1 dark blue, etc, etc. Saved me a lot of time programming. I can then use that quick record method that everybody knows and loves to get my colour information. With all of my BMFLs, I'm going to say odd even, then 1 in 3 red, +1 blue, +1 green. Not the most beautiful colour scheme, but you can see my point. I can then double click in that colours window and it's going to record me a normal palette based on those fixtures that I have selected, so that now even when I clear and exit, carry on the rest of my day, I can grab those BMFLs, put them in a different colour, put them in several different colours. As soon as I use that particular palette that I've just made via using quick record, it's going to display all of those lights in that colour. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Anyone else got any tips or tricks that they would like to share? Sharing tips and tricks on the Facebook group is often a common occurrence. So a lot of you've probably seen a few thousand of them already. Is there a way to do group +1 and group -1? I don't honestly know. Let's have a look. This is probably not the best show file to do it in because I have numbered them in a rather entertaining order. Group 10. I don't believe there is. If anyone knows that there is, Jellu has just posted a comment. Please reply to him and I will pick it up very shortly because I'm curious as well. I might go and ask the software team. The syntax way that I was talking about at the start of this, what I thought was just going to be me talking endlessly about stuff, but seems to be very popular helping with each other, helping each other out, is if I say group 19 and group 10, I can do that as well. Just looking through all of your comments that you guys have posted to see if anyone has got any more tips and tricks that they want to share. If there isn't, I will round up today. But you guys can have a look at the other tips and tricks webinar that I did before Christmas, as that's got plenty of useful ideas on there as well. Any last tips or tricks? If not, I shall disappear and you guys can watch that other tips and tricks webinar, join the Facebook group and keep an eye on our YouTube channel as there will be plenty more videos coming out in the near future explaining features. Chris, yes, you can set the overlap order. The overlap order is based on your group fixture order. So if I tap the group hard key and I select those BMFL blade, you can see it's gone red, so it's listening to an instruction. I can then use soft key D of fixture order. If I've set this up in a logical way, which I have, that's what that fixed order and that fixed overlap is paying attention to. Say I want to grab those BMFLs in a different order later on. What I personally do is I would copy that group to a different location. This has created a completely new group. Now I can go into that second group that I've just made and I can change the fixture order in here. Say I want them to come on in threes. I'm going to go through this step, and it might seem a little long-winded, but this now means that I've got two complete groups that's going to select these two lights in two different ways, which when it gets to me operating shows on the fly, I find really, really handy, because rather than it just being a one-time thing or a series of buttons in a particular menu, I now know that I've got this one in a different order. So if I select this, I'm just going to type in 50 and set my overlap to 50%. I can then say 3 and red. Then if I grab this BMFL group, sorry, and locate them, say 3 and then red, you can see I've got them at my hands just by making an extra group and changing that order, which helps later on with last minute programming. Especially helps with recording playbacks last minute. That's round about me done for tips and tricks that I want to show you guys. Oh, I know, one last one that I'm going to do just before I sign off. Timed clear. Timed clear is entirely a thing. You can see I've got some information in the programmer at the moment. If I'd done this during a gig, I don't want it just to snap to black as soon as I press clear. So I'm going to press 3 and then clear. Now over 3 seconds, all that information is going to get cleared out of my programmer. That is a good tip and trick to leave you guys on. As I said, YouTube channel, Facebook group, keep on checking us out online, and I shall see you on the next one.